Okay, good evening, everybody. You're very welcome to our 2024 AGM. Just to say at the outset, the meeting is being live streamed on YouTube, just so that you're aware of that. If you've any, just to say before we go any further, if you've any issues with the sound at any point, don't hesitate to raise your hand, and we'll sort the issues out if any arise, which hopefully they won't. Okay, just briefly before we start, I just want to introduce the panel. My name is David Pollard. I'm the chair of the board of Mountaineering Ireland. I'm joined here by our CEO, Liam Feely, and on this side by Mary McGrath, who's the chair of our Audit and Finance Committee. As in prior years, Siobhan Quinn, our company secretary, will be taking minutes. And just to say that the AGM has been supported by a number of staff. Ruth, who's been admitting you to the meeting. Laura, who's going to keep an eye on hands raised, and Michael, who's managing the YouTube. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so as we did last year, this is an online AGM. It's been hosted from Sport HQ here in Blanchardstown. As I've already mentioned, the AGM has been recorded and live streamed on YouTube. So again, just to be conscious that from whatever you say, that it is going out live on the internet. So just to be aware of that. To explain the Q&A, if we'll do a test poll in a moment. If you should on your screen on the reaction tab, you'll see a raised hand function. So just if you maybe have a look at that, make sure you can find it. So if you want to raise a question, just raise your hand using the raise hand function. Our staff will be monitoring to see if any hands are raised, and we'll get to your question as quickly as possible. So because we're online, we're not going to do the normal proposer and seconder approach. We'll be just taking a vote on each item. So again, when you're voting, you've got three options. You've got yes, you've got no, and abstain. So again, you get 30 seconds. There'll be a 30-second limit on each vote. There'll be a 30-second limit. There'll be 30 seconds for people to cast their vote. Once the votes have been cast, the results will be shown on. Everybody can see them on the screen. So just what we'd like to do now is just do a quick test poll, so people can make sure they can find that. So Julie, can you launch the poll? Okay, I noticed a few people haven't voted one way or the other. Just maybe you might just try and just so we can just confirm that it's working for everybody. Okay, that's fine, Julie. We'll conclude that and share the results. Okay, we can get rid of that now. Okay. So we have 88 delegates registered. I'm not sure we've quite got 88 people here yet, but we have close to it. And we've a list. You can see there a list of the clubs that are represented. I'm obviously not going to read those out, but you'll see them afterwards in the minutes. So just maybe just Siobhan, can you just confirm that we have forum? Yeah, we have. Okay. Okay, so the agenda is before you. We first of all we'll just look at this. We'll look at the adoption of standing orders. We've the minutes for last year's AGM. There's the address from the chair. Then we'll have election of full and aspirant clubs. Sorry, election to full membership of aspirant clubs, I should have said. The adoption of the financial statements, the appointment of auditors for 2025, and then statements regarding safeguarding and anti-doping, and then elections to the board. So that's our agenda. Okay, so the adoption of standing orders is the first item on our agenda, and again, this is as in prior years. It essentially sets out the amount of time that people have to speak for and against motions. In fact, we haven't received any motions. So rather than taking a formal vote on this, I'm proposing we would just we would take it as accepted unless anybody objects. So if anybody would prefer us to take a vote on this, please raise your hand. We're quite happy to do so. But just the point is we haven't received any motions, so it seems a little academic to take a vote on standing order setting out time that people are allowed to speak for and against motions. So are we seeing any hands? I can't. We're not going to. Okay. Okay. So I take it there's nobody seems to be objecting to that. So we just take the standing orders then as accepted. Okay. The approval of the minutes from 2023. You'll all have received in advance a copy of the minutes for 2023. I don't propose to go through those line by line, but if there are any aspects of the minutes that people feel are inaccurate or anything that's been missed, I'd ask you to raise your hand. If there's no issues raised, then I think we will go straight to a vote on approval of the minutes. Julie, are we seeing? Okay. Okay, so yeah. Thank you. Great. Okay, I think we can end the poll. Okay, so people can see the results. Is that clear? Maybe just somebody confirm that you can actually see the results of the poll. Okay. Okay. Okay, I just want to make, before getting into the I suppose the serious business tonight, I'd just like to make a few comments as chair. First of all, on behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome you all, our delegates, those watching online, our staff and our board members. I suppose I'd also like to give a particular thanks in advance to our company secretary, Siobhan Quinn, who's put a huge amount of work into making sure that everything runs smoothly this evening. I suppose I would say that the online AGM concept is relatively new to us, having been adopted out of necessity during the COVID years. I suppose we've been learning each year as we go along and trying to improve matters. So I would say that if you've, as always, I would say if you have any comments about the AGM or the format of the AGM, you might share those with us afterwards. Any feedback we receive would be most welcome. As always, I'd say we've been trying to improve things as we go along. Okay, so I'm going to make just a few general comments and I've picked 4 headings. I can talk a little bit about the organisation and what's been happening in the organisation over 2024. I just want to talk a little bit about the work we do to support participation in the sport, a little bit about our mountains, both access to them and protection of them. And I want to make some comments about competitive climbing. 2024 saw our membership exceed 16,500 for the first time in our history. And I suppose this reflects kind of strong recovery that we've seen after the dip during the COVID years. You'll see there from the graph on the bottom, our membership, I suppose, has been growing steadily over maybe the last 10 years with a little bit of a wobble around COVID. But it's good to see that growth trajectory is continuing. Our membership, and you'll see this from the report that we shared, the annual report that we shared with you yesterday. Our membership is drawn from across the island of Ireland, and it continues to have a good balance across by gender, across regions, and between urban and rural communities. We do recognise, however, there's more to be done to attract certain groups, such as younger people, those new to outdoor activities, and members of certain minority communities. We celebrate the fact that there's been a significant increase in popularity in both hiking and climbing in recent years, and we hope that we can persuade many of those new to hiking and climbing of the benefits of joining with our community. One example, I suppose, of the kind of reaching out we've been doing to younger groups is the workshop that we held for youth clubs at Tollymore last October. Over a weekend, students from 9 universities engaged in workshops led by staff and volunteers, which focused on safe practice, risk assessment, group management, and lots of practical skills for both hiking and climbing. Unlike many of the other NGBs, our members are virtually all participants. We don't have any pavilion members. So our healthy membership numbers reflect actual activity on the hills, and I suppose are a testament to the work done by our clubs in driving participation all across the island. Internally, we saw a number of changes during 2024. We had a new CEO, Liam, appointed. We created a new post around hill walking, and we created a new post around of high performance coordinator. And I'll talk a little bit about those further on. As is the case with all funded sports bodies, Mountaineering Ireland adheres to the Sport Ireland Code of Practice for Good Governance of Sporting Organisations. During the year, MI took a number of actions to strengthen our governance arrangements, including the formation of a new governance committee and a review of the governance arrangements for all our committees. The board recognises that this work is not only essential in terms of protecting our future funding, but also adds real value to the organisation. In reviewing our committee structures, for example, we actually identified a number of new ways in which the committees could add value, where there had been maybe uncertainty about their roles in the past. Supporting participation in our sport is at the core of everything we do. So there's quite a lot I could talk about here. However, just a few particular things that I'd like to call out. The club leadership programme continued to thrive in 2024 with 63 clubs participating and over 500 participants in training sessions. Programme aims to commit to support club leaders and to give them the tools to foster strong, sustainable clubs and to lead their members with confidence. I see this programme as really critical, as by supporting our clubs, we help to grow and strengthen the organisation. Training remains vital to safety on the mountains, and we continue to support training in a number of different ways. First of all, we do it through the formal training programs, through Mountain Skills, Mountain Leader, all of those more formal schemes. We also do it through Happy Hiking. We've done it through we do it through our international meets, both the Alpine meet and the winter meet, and we do it through skills. We do it through skills workshops and through the supports that we give clubs. Our international meets provide an opportunity for members to develop skills in both winter and alpine mountaineering, something that's really not possible to do here in Ireland. And these, I think that sometimes there's a perception that these meets are, for people at a very advanced skill level. In fact, they're for everybody. They cater for a wide range of skill levels, from beginners to more advanced, and they're extremely enjoyable. And if you haven't experienced one, I would recommend that you consider doing so. I would also like to say that looking at our Alpine meet, it's good to see that in 2024 our um, our guides, we had 50-50 gender balance in our guides for the Alpine meet, which I think is says something really positive about us. I'd all it, another I'd also like to point out that 40% of the participants were in the youth category, which again is very positive. In addition to the more formal training qualification schemes, our Happy Hiking campaign encourages safe and enjoyable experiences in the mountains. This programme continued to grow in popularity with over 37 events held across the country. We launched a new series of short videos to complement the Happy Hiking campaign, and these were widely shared across social media. Also, as I'm talking about training, I really would like to acknowledge the vital role that clubs play in mentoring and supporting their own members to upskill. Much of this vital work that's done by clubs is done without any fuss and often falls under the radar. Mountaineering Ireland continues to support women and teenage girls to engage in hill walking and climbing, to develop skills and to gain confidence on the hills. This is done in a number of different ways. It's done obviously through our Women with Altitude programme. It's done through events like the Women's Boulder Meet, Her Outdoors, and Summit Sisters. I'd particularly like to call out Women with Altitude, which really has been a phenomenal success, and over the years has been growing from strength to strength. It's particularly satisfying for us to see such high demand for places on this, and to see such excitement and enthusiasm around the event. It's really been a phenomenal success. As an organisation, we're really pleased to continue to be part of the Get Ireland Walking initiative, which makes such a positive contribution to health and well-being across the country. This programme reaches well beyond our own membership to many who would not ordinarily consider themselves to be hikers or hill walkers. Lastly, under participation, there's two particular events that I have to mention, which are really, again, have been going from strength to strength in recent years. And these are the Autumn Gathering and the Lynham Lecture. I believe that these events reinforce a strong sense of community within our organisation as they continue to grow in popularity. I'd particularly like to thank Sligo Mountaineering Club for hosting the Autumn Gathering and making it such a success. It was particularly nice to see Dermot Summers, who's been, I suppose, so actively involved in Irish mountaineering for so long, receive the Lynham Award in November. And a particular thanks to all our staff and volunteers who made that evening such a success. And again, it's something that maybe you haven't had the opportunity to go. It's something that every year the demand for that event increases, and it's just phenomenal to see the number of people who turn out. So if you haven't been, I'd again recommend it as a really enjoyable evening. Moving on then to our mountains. Over a number of years, mountaineering staff have worked tirelessly to support the development of the National Outdoor Recreation Strategy. This strategy provides a real opportunity to address many of the difficult issues for our sport, covering both access and protection of the mountains. Now that the strategy was adopted in 2023, our focus now really is around making sure that it's implemented. And I know our staff are still working tirelessly to push for that to happen. Access problems continue to rise. Sorry, I should also say, I'd like to say thanks to Helen for such an informative seminar at the autumn gathering on the National Outdoor Recreation Strategy. And again, if you're not familiar with it, I would recommend it's something that's definitely worth having a look at. Access problems continue to rise from time to time around the country, as I suppose we're all aware. We all know places where problems exist. I don't want to go into, I suppose, the details of individual cases here, but I would like to acknowledge the vital role that our staff play in working often quietly to resolve these issues when they do arise. The staff team also responds to a wide range of planning proposals and consultations regarding developments in the mountains. This work often falls under the radar, but is also, I believe, vital to protecting our mountain landscape. One particular project I would like to call out here is a blanket bog buddies. This is a volunteer initiative to support the Wicklow National Park in peatland restoration. Blanket bog is a really important carbon sink. So this project is not just about protecting the landscape that we love, but it's also a real practical response to the climate emergency. Just finally, just a few words on competitive climbing. And just those two things I suppose I'd like to mention here. The first is that in 2024, climbing actually became an Olympic sport. This has enormous implications for our organisation. Olympic participation brings with it opportunities for funding. It raises the profile of the sport, and it provides a pathway for younger people, not just into climbing, but also into mountaineering and hill walking. Finally, I'd just like to mention the really important contribution our high performance coordinator. This is one of the new roles that we created in 2024. I mentioned that at the start. So I'd like to mention the important role that Jackie has played in a relatively short period of time in developing a strategic performance pathway for climbing. I suppose this puts a more focused and strategic approach around talent development, and I believe it sets us up well for future success. Finally, none of this would happen without the input of a huge number of people, and there's lots of people to thank. I particularly like to thank our staff team who really work tirelessly on so many different fronts, and are always available to work at most odd hours. I'd like to thank all our volunteers across a whole range of both those who are on formal committees and people who work who volunteer in all sorts of different capacities for us. I'd like to mention our funders, without whom a lot of this wouldn't be possible. Our obviously various service providers and those that we collaborate with. I'd like to thank my fellow board members. I think the board it's a very collaborative group of people who work really well together. I'd particularly like to thank those who run our clubs and who lead our members on walks or on climbing. For the vast majority of our members, the club is the face of Mountaineering Ireland. It's what they see what they join is a club, and it's there. For most of our members, their club is their experience of Mountaineering Ireland. So the work that's done by club committees and club leaders and is absolutely vital. And finally, I'd like to thank all our members who continue to support us. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Again, if there's any questions at any point, do feel free to put up your hand, or okay. So we have 5 clubs five aspirant clubs who are for election to full membership. It's great to see every year a number of new clubs coming through. As I say, I firmly believe that clubs are really at the centre of everything we do, So it's great to see. So I'm going to propose as we take a single vote on the 5 clubs, and I guess if anybody wants to, if anybody objects to that, we're quite happy to take the votes individually. But if there are no objections, I would propose to take the 5 votes. Take 1 vote covering the 5 clubs. So just Laura, are we seeing any? There's no hands.
No, none not so far.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm going to take that as acceptance of my proposal. So I'll ask Julie to launch the poll, please. Okay, I think that's 30 seconds. Okay, so we can everybody see the result of that? Okay, so the vote is 94% in favour. There's some abstentions. I presume that I'm not. I guess there are people who don't feel they know, or they could be staff. Yeah. So okay, so we can stop sharing that. Okay, that's great. Okay. Okay, so I've been talking too much, so I'm going to pass over to Mary, who's going to talk us through the financial statements.
Thanks very much, David. So just to reintroduce myself again, my name is Mary McGrath, and as I've been a director, I chair the Finance and Audit Committee. So I'm going to take you through some figures and graphs to try to put some numbers behind what David has been talking about in terms of our activity there for the year. And then with the assistance of Julie and Laura, we will move to adopt the financial statements. So I suppose to give an overview of the financial statements at the outset, perhaps the most important thing is that we have received an unqualified audit opinion, which means that there are no issues raised by our auditors, which is a very strong result for us, and also no audit issues arose during that audit. So while the auditor is conducting the audit, they will bring to the attention of directors if there's any matters arising, and there was none in the current year. We did finish the financial year for 2024 with a small deficit of just under €8,000. This deficit is covered by our reserves. We have a healthy revenue reserve at the end of the financial year of just over €2,000. It's important to draw attention, and this is in the financial statement, but during the 2024 year, following engagement with our auditors, the board did approve an amendment of the reserve policy. And what we did was we combined the revenue and special reserves. There was really no reason for them to be held as 2 separate reserves. And we have undertaken to take a formal review of our reserve levels every 2 years. So obviously, we look to maximise the activities and the services that we can deliver for members while ensuring that we do operate in a fiscally responsible manner. And that's where we look to maintain a level of reserves that we feel are adequate for the activities of the organisation. And as I said, we will review that on a formal basis every 2 years. So now we're going to move on to some detail that, sorry, just see a quick question popping up there. The level of our reserves is just over €200,000 at the end of 2024. Thanks for that, Noel, I think it was. So what we have here on this slide, and I do accept it's a very busy slide with lots of numbers here, but the intention really is to give a flavour of what is the different components of Mountaineering Ireland's income, and then we'll move on in a few moments to how we expend that income. So in essence, we have four core sources of income. So member subscription, and that has increased 3% this year, and that was mentioned by David in terms of we have our highest level of membership ever in 2024. Our Sports Ireland grants accounts for €781,000 of our total income, so just under 50% of our income, and those grants have increased 8% year on year. We then have our Northern Ireland sport grants of €64,000, again with an increase from the prior year, and then others. So our Sport Ireland grants over on the right hand side of the slide, just to give a call out of a couple of the key grants there. So our core grant increased 15% year on year. So that was a very good outcome for us. Then we have a number of Get Ireland walking grants and dormant fund accounts, our Get Climbing, our Women in Sport, and then some COVID resilient grants. Within member services, we have just down towards the right-hand side of the slide, which our total member services income amounts to 209,000. So that comprises of various things such as training, as set there, member events, climbing competitions, the sale of Irish Peaks and other publications, and our Mountain Log advertisement. Just to note that Mountaineering Ireland earns a management fee from the programme grants, so that's our Sport Ireland grants, and generally we earn a management fee of 10% across those programmes, which is obviously then very helpful for reinvesting in our member activities. This slide repeats the same information, it's just in a different format, and I think the charts help us see the increase year on year in our member subscriptions and our Sport Ireland grants. Again, this just gives a different presentation breaking down our Sport Ireland grants. So as you can see, our core grant takes up the biggest part of the pie, or the largest part of the bar chart, and followed closely by Get Ireland Walking and then our Get Ireland Walking dormant account funds. And then you can see how the other grants fall in line with that overall Sport Ireland grant income. So again, this slide, it's the same thing. It's a different representation of how our member services, so training, as you can see, accounts for nearly 50% of our member services income, closely followed by member events, climbing competitions, and publications of Irish Peak and various other publications. So then to look at how we expend that income that we receive on an annual basis. So this slide, again, it is quite busy with a lot of figures on it. So we do have some graphs that try and help make that more accessible on the next couple of slides. But just to highlight some key costs here. So obviously our wages and salaries account for a large portion of our expenditure at 546,000. And that accounts for all the Mountaineering Ireland staff and the activity that they do here. Administration costs we'll come back to in a second because I have a further breakdown. Other key costs to call out are the Mountain Log printing and postage at 120,000 in the 2024 year. Our insurance costs are another sizable expenditure at 96,000, followed closely by expenditure on training at 66,000 and member services and participation at 69,000. Down towards the bottom of this table, we have our programme costs. So our programmes are our Get Ireland Walking, our climbing competitions, our Women in Sport, and they are funding that is given to Mountaineering Ireland for very specific activity. And this represents the costs associated with those specific activities. So overall, our expenditure has increased 1% year on year, 24 versus 23. So our next slide presents the same information. It has, as I said, exact same information, just in a bar chart format. Again, showing that wages and salaries, the staff of our Mountaineering Ireland team here really accounts for the vast majority of the costs of running the organisation. I did say I'd come back to the administration expenses. So this pie chart breaks down our administration expenses. Our key expenses in here are the website and our IT costs at 36,000, followed by the second largest slice of the pie of depreciation of 30,000. Now, depreciation isn't actually a cash expenditure incurred in the year. Instead, it is the depreciation or consumption of our fixed assets over the useful life of the fixed assets. Other costs that are worth noting there are our marketing and communication costs, our temporary administration support at 11,000. We bring on for a very short period of time around membership renewal each year, some temporary administration support to ensure that all of our members and renewals is done on a very timely basis. The other large part of that pie there is our rent cost, which is the rent that we pay on Mountaineering Ireland's office space here in Blanchardstown. Might move on there. So I'm going to ask Julie to assist me in the poll for the adoption of our financial statement. Do we have hands up? Sorry.
We might do we might just pause. Is there any, maybe just any questions that we could take some questions?
Yeah,
first?
of course,
Probably
yeah.
better before we go on. Yeah.
Laura might help us as we don't actually see the hands raised.
So the report that you received last night will have all that information in it. So you should have all that information to hand. I know it's hard to take it in on slides. So are there any?
There is hands up. So
Okay.
Laura, if you want to.
Laura, if you just unmute, yeah.
I'm going to ask Anne-Marie if you want to go first. I'm just going to ask you to unmute.
Apologies, we can't actually see the hands, so it's a little convoluted.
No problem. Thanks very much. That was a great layout of everything. I was just wondering there was a lot of difference in the professional fees. They went down a lot, and what were they? And also the deficit is much reduced from the year before. So what do you attribute that to? Is it professional fees and the MI log, or are there other things? Thank you.
Thanks very much, Anne-Marie. So I might start with your second question there because it's probably the harder one to answer. So the deficit has been reduced, and it actually, we were very pleased that it came in under the potential budgeted deficit. And there is a range of things influencing that, but we are very conscious of cost control. And you pointed out that absolutely our mountain log is a large portion of reducing that deficit. But it really is a combination of a number of things. You will also see on the expenditure breakdown that we had less expenditure on access and conservation in the 2024 year due to availability of staff. The professional fees have reduced year on year by 43%, I think, if I'm reading my table here, and it is a bit small in front of me. And that is really influenced by a range of different things. And professional fees, I suppose, vary from year to year and don't necessarily follow a set pattern in how they're incurred, but obviously do get close consideration.
Yeah, maybe can add to that. I guess the professional fees that you're seeing for 2024 would be the more norm, the average or the normal fee. That's closer to the average that we'd expect to see year on year. There were some exceptional costs. We did a lot of work, you may remember, around. We did we did what we called a culture survey. We had some HR support during that year, which wouldn't be normal. So the 2023 was abnormally high. 2024 is probably more normal.
Thanks for that, David. I joined in 2024, so David does assist me on the history sometimes. So thank you, David. Thanks, Anne-Marie. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, and well done on reducing the deficit.
Laura, have we another question?
Have you another question?
Yeah, we have another question from Trevor. I'm going to ask you to unmute there.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, Trevor.
Barely.
Can I just start off by saying to Mary, congratulations. I'm an MI member and a Sligonian, but I'm also the chair of the finance committee of both the BMC and the Alpine Club. And so I'm used to looking at presentations like this, and that was extremely clear and extremely helpful and answered at least two of the questions I had. Could I just ask you, first of all, I think somebody mentioned a moment ago the report that went out last night. Now, a couple of my questions were because I didn't have in front of me the stuff that you've just put up in the slides, Mary. Is that generally available? And even if it is, would it worth be putting in the stat accounts that you published as part of the agenda items? Would it worth be putting in a back page for members to see the analysis of income and expenditure? Because of course it's not visible at the moment.
Yes, so the report that we mentioned is available on the website at the moment and would have been published yesterday on the website, so that should be available for everyone to see. It is our first year presenting the financial information in this manner, so it's great to get your feedback, Trevor, and I'm really delighted to hear that you found it useful, and we certainly can look to expanding on that for future years, Trevor.
So it is on the website. I think ideally we probably would have got it out a few days earlier. This is the first time we've done this, and I suppose we were all hands on board really up to the last minute. So we got it out yesterday evening. The objective was to get it out before the AGM, which we did. But I hopefully again, feedback on that would be very grateful for.
I mean, the slides are terrific. It's very clear. The only thing I would suggest is if in future years you are able to get out a bit earlier, perhaps put it in the link stuff with the notice of the meeting, so that if that's possible, so that people can actually look at it, because all they have at the moment are the statutory accounts, which for most people who aren't accountants are not terribly meaningful. Yeah. Whereas the slides are helpful. So that was the first thing. The second thing, Mary, is on the reserves. Looking at the deficit or the consumption of reserves a year ago, which was 60-something thousand, are you reasonably content that sitting with reserves of a couple of 100,000 at the moment is sufficient? Because you wouldn't need too many years of losses of that sort to wipe it out.
Absolutely, and that is a question that occupies a lot of our time within the Finance Committee and the board. So we are confident that our reserves are sufficient to meet the activities of the organisation. We have brought the deficit down substantially year on year, and we would hope to return to a surplus position. But we are confident that the reserves that we have on hand currently are sufficient for the organisation, Trevor.
That's very helpful. Some of our members may know the reason I'm asking, if they link it with my chairmanship of the BMC Finance Committee at the moment. The reason I'm doing that is because the BMC pretty much wiped out a much larger level of underlying reserves 18 months or 2 years ago. They've now rebuilt them, and it's now back in surplus and growing again quite quickly. But it was a salutary lesson to those of us sitting outside the BMC looking in, just how quickly things could go wrong. And we obviously wouldn't want it to happen to MI either. One quick question, and then one broader one. The quick one is, we talked about, I think, membership going above 16,000. And I have to say, growing membership in a time like this is quite something. So again, well done. Most other membership organisations have got the opposite trend. Can I just ask whoever knows, how many of the 16,000 members are through the clubs, and how many are individual?
85%. But 85% are club members and 15% are individual members. And again, that data is presented in the annual report, which we've alluded to. So if people have a screen there, they can jump onto our website and they'll see the annual report, and it presents it quite a nice way, I think. So I hope that answers your question, Trevor.
It does. That's perfect. And final question from me. And again, this bears on the BMC experience on the other side of the water. Have you got any view about the change in the cost of running MI, admin costs and staffing in particular, I guess, as a consequence over the last few years of becoming more and more of an NGB rather than just a membership body? To do with governance and all of the regulatory baggage that goes with that.
Yeah. Trevor, I assume what you're alluding to is essentially every NGB, and I'd speak to them quite regularly, is having similar discussions that the additional governance requirements of being an NGB are taking its toll on everyone, especially when you add in inflation and things like that. Yeah. That every NGB is feeling the squeeze a little bit, and it's, Sport Ireland are funding us, so we're grateful for that, but also to get that funding, there is a lot of requirements. And you have to be, up to scratch to make sure we can fulfill those, those funding applications, etc. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I'd agree with you. It is there's a fine line there, I think.
No, I think
that's the answer I would expect, and it's what I'm finding with the BMC. About a third of BMC income, which is obviously much larger than MI, comes from publicly funded bodies, and 2/3 from being a representative body in the more traditional model. But it does very quickly become a significant extra cost base, just making sure that you've got people in place to do with things like safeguarding, but the extension of safeguarding and all the other things that goes with making sure that government regulators understand that you're complying with what they need. And again, if that gets out of control, you could easily find that the core representative things, the hill walking and everything else that you were talking eloquently about at the beginning of the meeting, become a bit of not a sideshow, but they in terms of staff time, they can get left behind with dealing with public funding.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Trevor. I think it's something that we'd certainly share that view, and I suppose it is something that does occupy our thinking. I mean, I think if you look at this, when you look at the Sport Ireland income, the actual core income is actually considerably less than I think it's, if you've got 700 odd thousand, and a bit little under 300 that is actually core funding. The other, the bit between the 300 and the 700, they're very prescriptive about what you have to do with that money. So we can't do with that as we wish. We have to spend that on quite specific things. So I suppose the stress from the additional governance requirements is absolutely real. Now, I guess one of the things we have been trying to do is be more efficient about how we tackle that. I think like the establishment of the governance committee last year has been really helpful. It has allowed us to, I suppose, take some of that governance work offline and do it in a more efficient way. I think we've put a lot of effort. A year or two ago, we put a lot of effort into safeguarding and streamlining our safeguarding. That's now done. Obviously, we now have to maintain it going forward, but I think we're trying to be more efficient in how we tackle those things. But you're right, absolutely right. It is a real challenge, and the demands on NGBs are just growing all the time, and and like I've been at meetings, Sport Ireland meetings, where this point has been raised by the chairs of quite a few different NGBs. So it's not just it's all NGBs are feeling the same pressure. But yeah, I think absolutely agree with the point you're making.
Well, thank you for that, and sorry for taking up so much time. But it's a hot topic with the other ones that I'm dealing with over here. If I can ever be of any help in just comparing experiences in the future, do let me know.
Cool. Thank you very much,
Trevor. I just like to clarify one thing. I said 85% club members, actually 82% club members. Just to
that's still very good. Yeah.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks a lot.
Laura, is there any other questions or any other hands up?
No, we're all good.
Okay. Well, we might ask Julie then to launch our poll on the adoption of the audited financial statements for 2024. Thanks.
Okay, that's it. Yes. Okay. So we have 95% in favour and 5% abstained, and 0 no's. So thank you very much. We'll take those financial statements as adopted. Okay.
So the next point is to adopt the appointment of our auditors for 2025. So OSK Chartered Accountants are our current auditors, and they have audited us for 2 years now running. So the proposal is to reappoint them as auditors for 2025. So again, I might ask Julie to launch the poll there for us. Thank you, Julie.
Okay, thank you. So that's 89% in favour and 11% abstained. So we'll take that as accepted. I guess I probably would like to maybe make just to say we as a board, we meet with our auditors once a year without just, without staff present, and they are I suppose we had they were very the auditors were very clear that in their appreciation for the cooperation and the support they received from staff during the audit. So I just want to acknowledge that. Thank you.
Great. I'll take this part. I actually started speaking, but I haven't introduced myself to anyone who doesn't know me. Liam Feely, Chief Executive Officer here at Mountaineering Ireland. Anyone who I haven't met before, very nice to meet you, and thanks for attending the AGM. So I suppose Mountaineering Ireland's safeguarding policy, the child safeguarding framework, complements the Northern Ireland safeguarding. Complements the Northern Ireland safeguarding guidance, which is the keeping children safe, our duty to care and support Ireland's safeguarding guidance for children and young people. Essentially, we're an All-Ireland body, so both Sport Ireland and Northern Ireland's safeguarding policy kind of work in conjunction and complement each other, which is very useful. Mountaineering Ireland affiliated clubs with youth members, with award holders working and are volunteering with children, young people or vulnerable adults must commit to our values, principles and best practice policies and procedures in order to provide a safe, fun and enjoyable environment. And I suppose it's just important to say that we're very much trying to drive participation of youth within our sports. I appreciate there can be a little bit of apprehension sometimes amongst clubs around the safeguarding stuff. I suppose it's just to let you know that we are here to help. If it's something that's on your own club agenda and something you're thinking about, please do come forward and talk to us. Pamela Bastable, our National Children's Officer, that's her role. She's here to support clubs and individuals with all safeguarding concerns and matters and simplify the process for you and make it something that may be more appealing to your club. So please do get in touch around safeguarding if you feel, even if it's a thought that's crossed your mind. Anti-doping statements. So Mountaineering Ireland fully subscribes to the World Anti-Doping Agency procedures and promotes a drug-free sport. We reference anti-doping in the rules of all our climbing and national climbing competitions. We provide education for members of the youth climbing team and other climbers who compete at international competitions, and we include anti-doping education as part of all our relevant coaching education programs. Essentially, we align with all the rules and regulations around anti-doping, which again is very important within the competition sector, particularly at international level.
Okay, are there any if there are any questions at any stage, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. Laura, I presume we're not seeing any. Okay.
No, David.
Okay, so that brings us then to the next item on our agenda, which is the nominations for membership of the board. Maybe just to mention that that Dave Ayton and Alistair Alistair Wills have stepped down, or they're not seeking they've served their 3-year term and are not seeking re-election to the board. We also have a nomination. We also have a vacancy because Ian Lawler retired from the board a couple of months ago. So we have we've received 3 nominations. Mary McGrath who's nominated by Club Coolin, based in Wicklow. We have Ravi Janik, who's nominated by Sneem Walking Club in South Kerry. And we have Trish Walsh, who's nominated by a number of individuals, but essentially all from the Connemara area. So we've got an essential nomination from Wicklow, Dublin, I suppose, Kerry and Connemara. We have 3. We have 3 nominations. We've 3 gaps. So what I would propose, if there are no objections, is to take a single vote for covering the 3 nominations. Is any objection? Again, if you prefer us to vote individually, we're happy to do that. But if I don't see any hands, I'll take it that we're happy to go for a single vote covering the 3 nominations. Okay, we're not seeing any hands, so we will go for so Julie, can you give us the poll? That's the one vote for the 3. Oh, hang on a second, there's somebody.
It's different.
No. Okay. I appreciate it's maybe might seem slightly academic when we've got 3 nominations for 3 places, but I think it's good to do this formally. Okay. So I think we can close that. So we can see the results. Yeah, so we've 92% in favour and 8% abstained. So we will, so congratulations, Mary, Ravid and Trish. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're coming to the end of our formal agenda, but we're very happy to, if there are other questions, we're very happy to take them. Oh yeah, Anne-Marie, thanks Anne-Marie. Yeah. Is there any particular questions? I will ask our president, Rita, to speak in a moment, but if there's any, before doing that, are there any comments or questions? It doesn't have to be, they don't have to be hard questions. They have to be, if you've got a comment or anything, we'd be happy to hear it. Okay, I'm not seeing. Okay, Simon, yeah. Thanks for the finance presentation. Echo comments made, reserve levels, yeah. And Simon, just to say, we are, I mean, that is, as Mary has already alluded to, the review, I suppose our reserve levels are under ongoing review. We're looking at it all the time. It is, I suppose, our income and our expenditure is very finely balanced. So if we put money into reserve, it means we're taking money out of services to members. So it's quite a, and I suppose it's quite a fine balance. But we are keeping it under review. Okay. I'm not seeing. Okay, so if and just maybe just one other final comment from me. Before I invite Rachel. Yes. Somebody's trying to come in. Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, Rita. Hello. Okay, so
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
unmuted. Hello, how are you?
Hi,
I would just like to introduce myself as well. Rita Connell, currently president of Mountaineering Ireland and a member of Blaney Ramblers based here in County Monaghan. I would just like to thank David, Liam, Mary, Siobhan, our company secretary, and staff for hosting and supporting tonight's AGM. I'd like to thank so many club representatives, individual members for participating in this year's AGM. I would just like to thank Liam and all the team for their hard work, dedication and commitment to Mountaineering Ireland, and congratulations on a very successful and productive year for Mountaineering Ireland. I would like to express my appreciation to David Pollard, our chairperson, and to all the board members for their hard work and giving of their time to the organisation. Also thanks to all the committee chairs, committee members and all the volunteers who work on behalf of Mountaineering Ireland and represent Mountaineering Ireland at various initiatives, meetings, groups around the country. I would also like to express my thanks to Dave Ayton and Alistair Wilson, who have come to the end of their term on the board, and like to thank them for their contribution and work over the past 3 years. They worked tirelessly for the organisation, I have to say. So really that's it for me. I just want to wish everybody an enjoyable summer. Hopefully the good weather will return, and here's to another productive year for Mountaineering Ireland. under the guidance of our wonderful team and the support of all the board. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Risha. Okay. I'm not seeing any. So I think I'm not seeing any hands. So we'll maybe bring the meeting to a close. I'd really like to thank you for your time. We have a hand.
There's questions there, David, from Lauren and Noel.
Okay.
I unmute. I don't know which one was first. I'll go with you, Lauren. I'm gonna ask you to unmute.
Hi guys, thanks for everything so far. I just have a question on our volunteer setup. Have we any plans to, I suppose, formalise our volunteer management, volunteer sign up? Is that something that could be looked into? I know Trevor was on. I know the BMC have a very good setup that they're using. Is that something we could look into here?
Okay. I'm going to hand over to Liam for this one. Thanks. That's a good question.
Hi, Lauren. Were you listening to me talking to someone last week? Because I was just discussing this with them, that I think we could definitely do the volunteering and how people, can get involved in volunteering a lot better. And I think step one will be improving the feature on our website and communicating that and how people can get involved. So I think, yeah, exactly. We're on the same page. I think we can definitely do it better. So thanks for raising the point and just reminding me. Appreciate it.
And maybe I just going to add to that. I think that, given our funding restrictions and given staff resources always limited, we try to do they do a huge amount, but there's only so much they can do. So I think there's the potential for volunteers really to play a hugely important role within the organisation. So I think your good point is well made. Is there was somebody else?
Yeah, I'm just gonna unmute you now. No.
Hello there, how are you? My name is Noel Uniac. I'm chairman of the Galway Walking Club. I'd just like to thank you all for presenting a very good meeting. And also to all the great work that's been done over the winter, especially with the turbulent winter we had with the storms, etc., bringing back in all the walks and trails to ensure that it's a safe access for everybody. I suppose access is one of our concerns in Galway and in the Connemara region. And in particular, there's one area of Mount Gable, unfortunately, which is out of access at the moment. So we're just looking for reassurances from Mountaineering Ireland that every thing can be done to bring this back into our walkers so that we can enjoy this, and obviously respect also to the owners of this land. But if you can try and assist us in this and bringing it forward to a good solution, it would be great.
Yeah.
Hi, Noel. I'll take that. Just thanks very much, and thanks for your kind words. And I appreciate access can affect people so, harshly if something goes wrong. So I know Helen is listening promptly, and she can't comment from where she is, but it's certainly on her agenda. I know that amongst all the other access issues. So look, I suppose we'll discuss it with her internally, and just thanks for highlighting it again, Noel. But you can be sure we'll certainly work on it for you.
Thanks, Noel.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I just to clarify, I think I just got asked, there was a question in the chat about what an NGB is. Apologies. So national governing body. So essentially all our sports are the national governing body for hiking, climbing, or hill walking, hiking and climbing. So just to clarify that for the person who asked.
Essentially all our Sport Ireland funding, all the Sport Ireland funding is distributed through national governing bodies. Okay. Look, thank you for your time. I would encourage you to have a look. If you have, I know you were a bit late getting it, but have a look at the report. I think it'll probably even make more sense now that we've after the AGM. Hopefully, it'll fill in any other questions that you have. If you do have any comments on any suggestions or comments for future AGMs, we're learning all the time. We try to do each one a little bit better than the previous one. We'd be happy to receive any comments that you have. That's really it then. I think, again, just look to thank everybody, Siobhan in particular, for making this evening happen. Thank all of the staff who gave up their time tonight to be here to make sure everything to help to support Siobhan, and to thank really all my fellow board members. I think as a board team, I think we work really well together. It's a really collaborative, like-minded group of people. So I think I'd just like to thank them for that.
Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Good night, everybody, and enjoy the hills. Get out in the hills when the weather improves.